What's going on, everyone? It's Dungeon here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some awesome early game dex weapons for Dark Souls 3. So if you're ready to throw down those clumsy axes and hammers and pick up some cultured weapons to help you finesse this game, you've come to the right place. Let's get right on into it. I know I talked about our first weapon here in other videos, but to sum it up, you can actually get it from that soldier walking through the door right there. Just be warned, you might have to farm him a few times before you can actually get it from him because the drop rates are RNG. So, might be a little longer for some of you, might be a little shorter. In general though, the Lothric Greatsword will definitely carry you through the PvE game, PvE battles, the whole 9 yards. Just put a sharp gem into it as soon as you can. You'll need an 18 dex before you can actually start to wield it, but it's more than worth it. Especially for those of you who are brand new to the game, this is one of the best weapons in Dark Souls 3 because it hits like a truck, it has a great move set, and it's fast, which means it's very forgiving, allowing you to be able to stick and move. So check it out, the Lothric Greatsword. Alright, there's a lot to say here about the daggers. So the first thing is the daggers have a really good critical rating. And the dagger in particular has a 130 critical rating, which is a lot of damage whenever you riposte or backstab. I mean, you can actually see on the screen it does a ton of damage. The Bandit knife, on the other hand, actually inflicts bleed damage in addition to the normal damage to allow for those extra damage bursts. So, the Bandit knife works great with hollow, bleed, or sharp infusions, allowing the latter infusion to add Carthus Rouge consumables for extra bleed buildup. The last benefit of this weapons is that they come with the awesome quick step weapon art. This can really help you move around swampy terrains and get out of sticky situations quickly. These weapons are quick, but with really short reach, and the dagger in particular can work really well with the fire infusion because of the extra multiplicative damage. Just don't forget to use the Hornet Ring. If you want to give them a try, all you gotta do is go to the Shrine Handmaiden and you can buy the dagger with 300 souls, or Grey Rat, you can buy the Bandit's knife for 1500 souls. However, if you want to start the game with one of these, choose the Thief class and you'll get the Bandit's knife right away. Look, every good build has to have some sort of ranged weapon to do some chip damage or to aggro enemies. Whether it be a bow, crossbow, spells, whatever you want to go with, you gotta have something. Most of the time they're not going to be your primary weapon, but in the case of a dex build, you gotta go with the Longbow or the Black Bow of Pharis. While they're both decent, the Pharis bow is actually a better dex weapon because it fires faster, it weighs less, it has a better firing range, so even though they do similar amounts of damage, the Pharis bow has better DPS. Now you might be wondering, why would you even use a longbow, but that's easy to answer. First off, it's a better weapon if you're not actually going to be going with a dex build. Also, you find it super early in the game. On the other hand, the Pharis bow isn't actually accessible until you get all the way to the Farron Swamps, and it's dropped by one specific Elder Groot as shown on the screen. So what this all means is that I would actually recommend you pick up and use the Longbow when you start off the game, and then switch it out for the Pharis bow once you get to the Farron Swamps. Okay, so there are a lot of good halberds in Dark Souls 3, but I really got to advocate for the Lucerne, aka the Lucy. I know I've talked about it before, but this weapon is awesome. It does good damage, it's got a great move set, it's got really good reach, it does thrusting damage, so it pairs really well with the Leo ring, and to top it all off, you get it really early in the game. I must confess something, however. I've overlooked this weapon in the past countless times, and I really got to tell you that if you've overlooked it too, I urge you to try this one out because I think you're really going to like it. Now, I do want to give everyone a pro tip that kind of applies to a lot of weapons that you pick up in the early game. I recommend that you put a raw gem into this one first. Then, later on, once you get your dex attribute a little higher, infuse it with a sharp gem. This way you can kind of min-max your stats. For those who are looking to try out the Lucerne, You're going to find it in between the Dancer boss fight area and Vort boss fight area as shown on the screen. And by the way, if you do give it a run, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. The good old Uchigatana. You know I gotta have this one on the list for all you katana lovers out there. This weapon is cited as the earliest true two-handed dex weapon, and I have to say that while it may not be one of my favorites, it is an outstanding weapon. This thing does great damage, scales really well with dex, even pyromancers get good dark and chaos scaling out of this weapon. What's more is that this thing does bleed damage. So that opens up that whole avenue of extra options for bleed builds. And I haven't even talked about this weapon's moveset, which is honestly one of the best in the entire game. It's got vertical slashes, horizontal slashes, attacks that have time delays. Dang, this Uchigatana has a weapon art that gives you the option to either parry or attack. And by the way, did I tell you that you get this thing even before you get to the high wall? You gotta defeat the master, but it shouldn't be too terribly difficult for most of you. If you are having any difficulties, check out my walkthrough so I can give you some tips on that. For real though, the Uchi will get you through pretty much the entire game, or until you decide you want to switch it up for a different katana. So, try this one out, y'all. Look, this list would not be complete if I did not put the Astora Greatsword on it. It is an awesome dex weapon in addition to being an awesome weapon overall. In fact, it's even got great scaling for elemental infusions that you put on it too. I mean, this thing is an ultra great sword that has hyper armor. It's the lowest weight ultra great sword. It's got awesome damage. It's got a killer moveset. And by the way, have you ever tried to stab someone with this thing? Like even those rolling stabs, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. If you want to pick this thing up, all you got to do is go to the Cathedral of the Deep, and it's sitting right there in the graveyard waiting for you to pick it up and become the true champion of Ash. So we really have two absolutely fantastic weapons right here. While the Rapier has a far superior critical rating, is lighter, can parry in offhand, and has really low stat requirements, the Bestoc, yeah, you heard me, has a superior reach, does more damage, has a better weapon art, and has the best moveset in the thrusting sword class. Both of them are real good, and both of them are available super early in the game. I mean, technically, you can start with the Bestoc from the get-go if you select the Assassin class, or you can even buy it off of Grey Rat for 3,000 souls after he goes on the pillage through the Undead Settlement. The Rapier, on the other hand, can be grabbed in the high wall Lothric as shown on the screen near the Wing Knight. Both of these weapons can pretty much take you through the whole game, though I will say some of you are going to find the Crowquill's DLC weapon a little bit more appealing. Aside from that, these weapons are great in PvE, they're amazing in PvP, so give them a try if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments down below how much either of these two weapons are for you. So I put the Twin Blades, aka Winblades, on for our final early game dex weapons. And I actually have two different ones. It's really a toss up between the Sellsword Winblades and the Warden Winblades because they're both super duper good. This because they excel at stun locking enemies. Whereas the Sellsword Winblades do more normal damage, the Warden Winblades do bleed damage in addition to the normal damage. The reach on these weapons are admittedly a little bit limited, but I am actually pretty sure that they're roughly the same. The biggest difference between the two of them comes from acquiring them. While the Sellsword Winblades can be acquired either by starting as a mercenary class or by finding them in the Road of Sacrifices behind the Black Knight as shown on the screen, the Warden Twin Blades have to be farmed from the Grave Wardens and the Cathedral of the Deep. As always, RNG does not guarantee drops, so you could get them right away or you could be farming all day. The quickest farm seems to be going up the elevator from the Cathedral Chapel to farm the two Grave Wardens just outside. Whichever of these two you pick, I know you'll have a ton of fun playing with either of them. Alright, you guys, that concludes my list of awesome early dex weapons, and for those of you who didn't see your favorite early dex weapon, shout out to the Astora Greatsword. Tell us which ones you use in the comments down below. If you had fun, if you learned something, if you enjoyed watching this, hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon so you don't miss another video, and as always, thanks, stay cool, and bye everyone.